In example 3, we are going to use a graphing calculator to find intervals on where our function is increasing or decreasing. So the first thing that we have to do is type in our function, and then the second thing that we're going to do is set our window to the suggested dimensions that they give us in our example. And then after we do that, we are going to find our maximum and our minimum values on our function, because those are the places where our intervals are going to change. Your graph changes from increasing to decreasing on maximum values, and it also changes from decreasing to increasing on minimum values. So we have to find those. Okay, so first I'm going to put in my function, and I'm going to press y equals, and then I'm going to punch in my function, or type in my function, 0.1x, and then you can use your little caret or little arrow button to put in your cubed, or you can go ahead and go into math. It's located in math. It's number 3 on my calculator. Normally I just use the little caret here to do that, but I wanted to show you where the cubing actually was. And then I'm going to continue typing minus 0.6x, and then again you can use your caret button for the exponents, or I'm just going to press my x squared button, and then minus 0.1x plus 2, and I'm going to give that a quick double check that I typed that in correctly. I'm going to arrow back to the left to look at the beginning, and I am pretty sure that everything looks good. Okay, so I'm going to hit my graph button just to give it a quick peek, even though I guess I can see it down here on my screen. And we're going to go ahead now and change the window. Right now I have a window of -10 to 10 for my x-axis, and also -10 to 10 for my y-axis. That's the standard, but we're going to change those dimensions. I'm going to make my x minimum -4, and then I'm just going to start typing in that -4, and it's going to replace what was there. And then I'm going to arrow down and put my x max of 6, and I'm just going to hit the 6, and it's going to type over everything that was there. We're going to skip over x scale and go down to y minimum. My y minimum is -3, and then I'm going to arrow down one more time and put my y max of +3. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit graph. And now we have a nice zoomed in window that fits those the area of the graph where my max and min is. It kind of fits it right in that window nicely. And let's go ahead and find the two things that we need in order to break up our graph into its intervals of increasing and decreasing. So the first thing I'm going to do is find this maximum point right here, because that is where my graph changes from increasing to decreasing. So in order to do that, I'm going to hit second and then trace, and that gives me my calculate window. You can see above trace in blue, it says calc, and that is the calculate window. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to type in a 4, because 4 will give me maximum. You can always just arrow down on that screen until you highlight maximum and then hit enter. That works as well. And then you will see that your graphing calculator is asking for a left bound, and that wants you to be to the left of your maximum. It wants you to move your blinking cursor to the left side of your maximum. So I think my maximum point looks about there, and I'm just going to hit my arrow key a couple more times to the left to make sure it is definitely on the left side of that max. Mr. Manning likes to do 3, so I'm going to hit it 3 times. And then I'm going to set that left bound by hitting enter. And as soon as I hit the enter button, you can see that the graphing calculator is now asking us for the right bound, and it wants you to be somewhere to the right of your maximum. So I'm going to move back over 3 so I get to where I think I'm actually at that maximum, and then I'm going to hit it 3 more times so that I'm definitely on the right side of that maximum. And then I'm going to set that right bound, and I'm going to hit enter, and then lastly it's going to ask me for a guess, and then I'm going to move my cursor back over so that is as close to that maximum as possible. It's probably not exactly on the maximum point, but it's as close as I can get it. And then I'm going to hit enter, and my calculator is going to calculate my maximum of that function very, very precisely without guessing. Okay, so I see that I have an x-coordinate of negative 0.081665.9. That is going to be the domain or x-coordinate that we use to break up our interval at that point. And I'm going to write it down over here. Okay, so we have a max of 2.004. Remember that that y value goes first, your actually max height goes first. And then we write at x is equal to negative 0.08, and I'm going to round it to the third decimal place, and that is, I think, going to be a 2. So now I have the actual x-coordinate that I need, which is right here, that determines the interval of where my graph changes from increasing to decreasing. So we have to find one more ordered pair. We have to find this minimum over here because my graph changes from decreasing to increasing right there, and I'm going to use that x-coordinate of that point to break up my interval. I'm going to hit second and calc, and then I'm going to go ahead and type in a 3 for minimum, or you could just arrow down till you get to minimum. And then you can see once again my calculator's asking for the left bound, and that wants me to be to the left side of my minimum. So I got a little ways to go here. I'm going to keep arrowing over until I get down to my minimum, and then I want to make sure that I'm a little bit to the left, so I'm going to move 3 spaces to the left. It doesn't technically matter how many spaces you move, but 3 looks pretty good. And then I'm going to set that point or left bound by hitting enter, and now it's asking me for the right bound, so I'm going to move back to my minimum and then 3 more spaces over. And now I look like I'm a little bit to the right of the minimum, and I'm going to set that right bound point by hitting enter, and then once again it wants me to guess. So I'm going to move back and try to get as close to that minimum as possible. So my cursor is like as close to being on top of that minimum as possible. And then I'm going to hit enter, and then my calculator is going to very precisely calculate out the best answer for that minimum. And we're going to go over here, and I'm going to write that down. So my minimum is at negative 1.604 at an x-coordinate equal to 4.082. And so we are going to use the x-coordinate of our minimum in order to break up our interval at this spot where it goes from decreasing to increasing. All right, so now we're ready to go ahead and finish this problem. You do not have to draw the graph in, but I'm going to draw it in. So my graph makes a switch right here, and my graph makes a switch right here from going from increasing to decreasing, then decreasing to increasing. The x-coordinate that I have right here and the x-coordinate that I have right here is what we're going to use to write those intervals. Okay, so this x-coordinate right here is negative 0.082, and then this x-coordinate over here is 4.082. Okay, so my graph is going from, let's see, my graph is increasing, coming in from negative infinity up until this point. So we'll do increasing. From negative infinity up until negative 0.082. And then my graph changes. And now it is decreasing all the way up to here. So my graph is decreasing from negative 0.082 up until 4.082. And then finally we are going back to increasing again, starting from here and going on forever. So we are back to increasing, and that is 4.082 to infinity.